Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brickazoid's Den. I have just finished watching the latest Amphibia episode, which consists of two segments, Newts and Tights, and also Fight or Flight. And both of them, it was pretty alright. It was fine. Definitely a bit of a step down from last week's episode, with that segment B there being super, super well done. Super important stuff there. There is a little bit of story that we kind of got here that was a little bit surprising that I didn't actually expect. But there was mainly just kind of like more very simple. I'm not gonna say filler episodes because they aren't filler. Just kind of very simple storyline episodes that are just gonna be like basically the group getting more and more people joining the resistance, kind of, which is fine. It was interesting. I mean, some of the episodes were fun for what they were, but again, they weren't very story heavy, weren't very plot based. It was very just kind of simple storylines, which it was fine. I'm like simple episode. I'm still riding the high of the Owl House episode of this week of today, so I'm still kind of like thinking about that, and not so much about this. But yeah, this was like a nice thing to wind me down a little bit, I guess, and clear my thoughts a little bit more as I was watching this episode of Amphibia. But yeah, it was nothing too crazy. I wasn't too crazy about this episode with these two segment episodes. But yeah, they were fine for what they were, I guess. So we'll get into the breakdown of them right now. So for segment A of this episode, we have Newts and Tights. Of course, this is a play on Robin Hood, like Men in Tights. So we start off with Anne and Sprig watching Newts and Toads with Andrius armor on. So these are clearly Andrius's soldiers now, kind of joining Andrius in this new age of Andrius taking over Amphibia, and now all of his guards, his royal guards, I guess, are now having like this different armor on, and they still follow Andrius, of course. And then the Newt and Toad soldiers are attacked by a group of rebel Newts after being tricked by one of them. And these rebel Newts capture Anne and Sprig. Turns out Tritonio is leading the rebel Newts, and Anne and Sprig are going to help Tritonio defeat. In my notes, I wrote Belos's forces. I'm still on the Owl House thoughts here. Andrius's forces is what I meant there, not Belos's forces. That's from the Owl House there. So Sprig and Anne go to Tritonio's camp, and Tritonio goes through his backstory of joining gangs as a child, because that was all that you could do back then, or something like he was saying. So Anne, Sprig, and the rebel Newts intercept a caravan, which ends up being a trap. Tritonio's followers are captured, and Tritonio leaves them to be captured because he has like this rule that he learned when he was a child that it's like some rule of the road or rule of the, I forget what they called it, about like you can't, they just like leave their own behind, kind of, which is obviously something you would never do. And yeah, he just leaves them to be captured, which was kind of bad. And then Tritonio is kind of ready to give up, but Anne and Sprig tell him not to, and tell him to go save his people, his followers, because his followers really, really like him. But he feels the same way. Clearly cares about them, but he just doesn't. He doesn't feel ready to, or not ready. He doesn't feel. Oh man, what am I trying to say here? He doesn't feel strong enough to save them. So the rebel Newts are brought to an Andrius robot judge who wants order, and Anne and Sprig save the rebel Newts from Andrius's bots. Anne, Sprig, and the rebel Newts fight Andrius's bots in like this whole fight scene. And then Tritonio saves the group from Andrius' judge bot before one of the Newts gets crushed by the Andrius judge bot foot, or one of the foot of the Andrius judge bot. The rebel Newts defeat Andrius' judge bot and also the other bots that Andrius has set up around the area. Everybody returns to the rebel Newt camp, and then Anne and Sprig convince Tritonio to join the rebellion group. Now, this is where, so after that whole part, we kind of go back to the Resistance HQ, and this is where things get pretty interesting. Hop Pop found a door after looking for the bathroom, like this secret door that he never saw before, and Hop Pop and Sprig slide the family tome with the Calamity Box drawings in it, which is the book with that lettering. I don't remember. Did it say who it was? Well, actually, I have a theory of who it was, but basically, Hop Pop and Sprig slide this family tome book into the little slot for a book, basically, and that unlocks the door. The door opens, reveals the room of who I believe is Leaf, who we saw from last week's segment B episode which was like Andrias's friend. Perhaps this was her hiding spot from Andrias, and she was basically a planter, it seems. I believe. So I believe, like I said, I believe this was Leaf, but everybody in the show who was there, Anne, Hop, Pop, Sprig, and Sasha were there, and they don't really know who it is, obviously. But I believe it is Leaf, and she was using this like secret room under the planter's house to hide, basically. Of course, she's probably long gone by now, because that was years ago when she had to escape the Amphibia kingdom. Um, and this was her hiding spot. Basically, in here was a bed, there was a desk, and there was also, I believe, her cloak with her, I would say, her initial branded onto it as well, just like the door and just like the book. So that was very interesting to see. That was probably the biggest like thing that happened in this whole episode. Nothing really happened. Nothing too crazy happened in the fight or flight episode. But yeah, this whole part was very interesting, and I'm very curious where they're gonna go from here with this whole like Leaf situation, because of course I think that was last week's episode was the first time we learned about Leaf. I want to say, because I don't think I've ever heard of her previously in the other episodes, but I could be wrong. I guess I believe she's been revealed in last week's episode, and now we're getting more information on her that she was maybe hiding out in the planter's house, and maybe she was a planter. Very interesting stuff here. Maybe even she started Wartwood. I don't know. I'm kind of running ideas here in my mind. But yeah, that was mainly it for segment A. We'll move on to segment B. Once again, as I said, segment B doesn't have too much like really deep storyline that adds to this storyline of Andrias and Leaf and things like that. It's more of a simple storyline that also, I think it will also help support the resistance in later episodes, in the finale episodes. So this segment is called Fight or Flight, and basically a group of resistance fighters chase after a coastal killer moth looking creature that keeps stealing the food from the group. This creature turns out to be Domino 2, who was a character from previous episodes. Domino 2 is captured by Andrias, and Anne still cares about Domino 2, even though the rest of the group hates it. Anne wants to save Domino 2, but everyone disagrees. Domino 2, we learn, has kittens. Anne convinces Sprig to bring the Domino 2 kittens back to Wartwood, and then everyone at Wartwood disagrees with this decision. There's a lot of disagreement and then trying to convince people in this episode. Anne and Sprig convince Wartwood to watch the kittens while they go save over Domino 2. Wally, of course, as we know, Wally takes the first watch of the Domino kittens and then quickly gets taken over by their cuteness. Basically, that's the kind of like the running thing in this episode, is that these Domino 2 kittens, are so adorable that they get the people of Wartwood basically get mind controlled by them. So Anne and Sprig, meanwhile, see a machine that Andrias has made to generate power using the flying moths, the flying coastal killer moths. And back at Wartwood, everyone at Wartwood thinks the Domino 2 kittens are very cute. Anne and Sprig, now we keep jumping kind of back and forth here. Back at the what was it, like the Andrias moth cave, I guess, the generator. Anne and Sprig release Domino 2, and Domino 2 seems to remember Anne. Sprig gets eaten by another coastal killer moth, and Anne flies on Domino 2 to save Sprig. Anne, Sprig, and Domino 2 almost escape, but they instead decide to free the other coastal killer moths. Sprig gets fought over to be eaten once again, and Domino 2 stops the other coastal killer moths from eating Sprig. This shows that Domino 2 is the alpha moth, and that the rest of the moths are tamed now that the alpha is tamed. So Wartwood, meanwhile, everybody flies back to Wartwood. Wartwood is obsessed with the baby Domino kittens, and now Wartwood has an air cavalry, and that was really about it. So very kind of this episode went by very quickly. I mean, I know it's only an 11-minute segment, but it went by like really really quickly. It began and then it was over. And basically this is just trying to get Domino 2 saved, and then they eventually are going to use probably all these Domino 2 and the coastal killer moths in the war against King Andrias and Amphibia, basically, which is going to be pretty cool. I'm excited for the finale episodes to see this huge battle go on. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these episodes in this season 3B has been a lot of trying to basically get people to join the resistance, I guess, and get like other groups. I mean, we got Tritonio in the previous segment, and then we got the Domino 2 in this segment to join the resistance, and just kind of building the army basically. Then there was also many other previous episodes. I think we had like the mushroom guy from the previous episode. I think it was. I don't remember that guy's name. I forget his name. Apothecary Gary, right? and he was kind of like leading a large group of, or not a large group, but a small group of farming frogs, I think they were, and now he's going to join the resistance. So just kind of a lot of these segment episodes have been kind of just small little side mission, or not side missions, but small little missions to go out and try and get people to join this resistance and build this massing army so they can actually have enough forces to take on Andreas. And I think that's where we're probably going to continue um, up until, what was it, May 7th, I think is when the finale begins. Well, actually, no, I think they said next week's segment B is kind of when the finale begins. And then maybe, I don't know what the previous segment's going to be. I'd have to look that up, but that's going to be very exciting, honestly, that this is coming. I mean, well, actually, it's sad and exciting. The show is coming to a close, but also the finale, I think, is going to be really, really cool, and I'm very excited for it. So I'd love to see like the kind of army the resistance has amassed over time, and yeah, I mean, I can't wait for the finale. I think it's going to be really good, and I think next week is probably going to be the beginning, and I think next week is going to be probably, hopefully, some big stuff is going to happen next week. I'm feeling that's what I'm kind of feeling, just to kind of get this whole finale war started, basically. All right, so there you have it, another Amphibia episode down. We only have next week, the week after, and then the week after that, I think, left, because May 14th, right? Yeah, May 14th. So we have 3 weeks left of Amphibia, and then we have 5 weeks left of Owl House, but 3 weeks left of Amphibia. Things are gonna go down. I think next week. I think things are about to pick up. You know, that we're finally gonna get into this like whole finale battle situation here. Of course, we know that the what was it? The May 7th episode is like 48 minutes long, and then the May 14th episode is like 29 minutes long, and then that's going to close out the show completely. Which is, again, it's sad to see it go, but it's also very exciting to see how the show finally ends. I can't wait to see the finale. But we're kind of close, and I feel like there's still a lot of storyline to kind of go over. But I feel like the 48-minute episode on May 7th is going to cover a lot of this really deep storyline stuff, and just kind of give us answers to our questions, like who is Leaf and things like that, basically. So yeah, that was it for this Amphibia episode. If you enjoyed that video, do the common YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.